Hey, this is Mr. Chernetsky, and this is Unit 9, Lesson 4. The first thing that you're going to be asked to do is look at this situation. We have survival or partial survival data on passengers on the Titanic based on what class of ticket they have and whether they survived or not. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and pause this video right now and see if you can't figure out how to fill in this first chart for number 1. Okay, hopefully you got this chart filled out, but if you did not, if you're stuck, we can show you how to solve this. So the first thing I would look at maybe is in first class, we have the total first class and we have the total who survived in first class. So if I want the did not survive, I'm going to subtract 202 from 325, and that will give me 123. I can do the same thing for the second class. I can subtract 167 from 285. That gives me 118 that survived in second class. I can now total up the survived by adding the 202 and the 118. And I can add the 123 and the 167. That'll give me a 290 total, and that should add up to 610, which it does. So the totals work in both directions. Okay, so now we have our full set of data, and we can start answering some of these other questions. So from that data, we're going to make a couple of Venn diagrams. Now the first Venn diagram is of first class and second class. Well, this is going to be kind of a weird Venn diagram because first class and second class, you cannot be both. You have one ticket or the other. Okay, so our circles are not going to overlap. Okay. And we're just going to have our totals for those. We have the 320 for first, we have the first class is 325. And the total second class is 285. Okay. Now if I do a Venn diagram for B, second class and survived, those will overlap. So in the middle, we'll start there. Those are the second class passengers who survived. So if we go to second class and survived, we see that there was 118. Okay. If we're not in second class but we survived, that means you're in first class and survived. And that's 202. And if we're in second class, not in the survive, well, that's second and did not survive. That's 167. And if we're outside of both, then we're in first class and we did not survive. That's the 123. Go out here. Okay. Take a minute, guys, and try and figure out all of these probabilities for number 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and check those. So probability of being in first, of surviving. So we're looking at our total survivals is out of 320. Our sorry, it's 320 out of the grand total, which is 610. And if we divide that, we'll go ahead and get a percentage. So that's 0.52, or about 52%. The percentage of not surviving is 290 out of 610. Which is about 40.475, or about 48%. Okay, and that makes sense because those two need to add up to 100. The next one is a conditional probability. So given that we are in first class, so if we are limiting, we're looking at just the first class, so we don't care about anybody in second class. How many did not survive? So this is going to be 123 out of this total, 325. So 123 out of 325. And we'll take our calculator, and we'll get about 0.378, or about 38%. Okay. For part D, we're limiting, our condition is survives. We're looking at the survivors. So we're in this column, and we're looking at that total. So out of the people who survived, how many were second class citizens, or second class passengers? So 118 out of the 320 survivors. Which is about 0.368, or about 39%. Okay. All right. Next ones are kind of interesting questions. So the E is asking how many passengers are first or second class passengers. Well, that's everybody. Okay, you're either first or second class. And then the next question is, how many people were first and second class? And if we look at our first Venn diagram, we can't be both. So there is 0% that are both. Okay. All right. For G, probability, you're in first class again. We're limiting ourselves to the first class. And how many survived? We can do this two ways. We can look up at our two-way table. So first, and we can see that's 202 out of 325. So 202 out of 325, which gets us approximately 0.621, or 62%. That would make sense because the percent that did not survive was 38%. So those two have to add up to 100. For H, it's a little bit different. It's asking survival and first. That means out of everybody. How many survived or were first class survivors? So first class and survive would be 202, but it'll be out of 610. And that's approximately 0.331 or 33%. And the probability of just being in first class, well, that's our total first class, 325 out of 610, which is approximately 0.532 or 52 or 53%. Okay. So there's this relationship that Jack and Rose are noticing here. Basically looking at these last three here. The probability of surviving, being that you're a first class citizen, is 62% or 0.62. And we want to check, does that equal surviving and being first? So that's the 0.331. Out of just being a probability of just being a first class passenger. And if we do that, check that on our calculator. .331 divided by 0.532 does give us about 62%. So that does check out. Okay. Number 5, you will do a similar conjecture, but you're going to be working with survival and second. So you're going to basically replace the first with a second. Okay, and that should give you the same relationship. Okay. More importantly, though, we have questions 6 and 7, which is kind of getting to the point of this. So as Rose and Jack are examining the probabilities, they are starting to feel a little glum. Rose says, "I think our survival depends on the class of our ticket. Would you agree?" Right? 3 probability statements to support your claim. So what I might consider is looking at the probability of surviving given the different classes. So we already have some of those. What's the probability of survival being in first class? So we know it's 62%. Probability of survive being in first class is 62%. The probability of just survival is 52%. Yep, 52%. So already we can see first class is doing better than just everybody in general. Probability of surviving being in second, given that you're a second class passenger. Well, we can look that up. That would be 118 out of 285. Which is about 41%. So we can see that obviously your class is affecting, okay? And it looks like first class is doing a whole lot better than everybody else. So if class was independent, if everybody didn't affect the survival, what we'd expect is that all of these percentages would be the same, okay? So in other words, if it was independent, if survival was independent of class, we would expect that survival, whether you're in first class, would equal everybody's survival and would equal the same as surviving if you were second class. That is obviously not the case. So survival on the Titanic really depended on your ticket. Okay, that is it for this lesson. For your ready, set, go, I'm gonna have you go to page 181 and just do number 10. And that's it for your classwork.